Trudeau is now cutting back on the amount of immigrants coming to Canada now that the world is getting pretty crazy. And as we know, immigration is putting a lot of stress on the housing crisis and also on rent prices. And he's now literally denying entrance to people that have already been accepted to come to our universities and study. So will this trend continue to grow now that the international students are seeing the truth about Canada and that it's not so easy to live here? Well, in this video, I'm going to break down the real truth that you need to know and how Canada is probably going to look in the next couple of years. Let's get into it. Now, I don't want to sound like some old boomer, but remember back in my day, a couple years ago, there weren't as many international students coming to Canada. It was more of a steady increase. It made sense with our economic development. And I can attest to this because I live in Waterloo, so the University of Waterloo is a huge draw for international students, specifically Asian students. I mean, the University of Waterloo is obviously a great school, one of the best schools in Canada, so the draw is already there. But I can tell you from 2008, when it was really getting popular to come to Waterloo all through the 2010s, we had a lot of international draw, but it wasn't that much. Now, it's just a complete gong show. And I'm not saying it's the immigrants' fault or the people coming here for school. The real problem is actually Canada selling the dream of living in Canada. It's so nice here. You can buy a home. It's affordable. Selling the dream through all their marketing to these international students. By the time they get here, we now know we have so much data on this. They're all very disappointed. They were literally lied to. They can barely afford rent. They can barely afford food. We know that a lot of immigrants are going to food shelters after just getting here, being promised that they can get whatever they want. You know, life is going to be great. And now they're going to food shelters. Now, this is stirring up a lot of stuff because we have the more nationalist people, you know, Canadians be like, hey, those food shelters are for Canadians, not for immigrants. I don't want to get into that. But now we're seeing a huge fight between the two. And of course, it's sparking up racism here. I mean, what isn't these days in this new world? But, you know, the reality is a lot of these immigrants coming here for school, promise of a better life, don't actually end up working in jobs that they went to school for, which is true for Canadians as well. We know this. But the problem is we're bringing over so many people that end up working jobs that aren't really helping the GDP. They're not moving Canada economically forward. They're working at Walmart. They're working at low-paying jobs. And let's be honest, dude, how many more Walmart workers do we need? 500,000? I don't think so, dude. I mean, we got to save the Walmart jobs for the boomers, okay? Someone's got to greet me when I come to the door, all right? Now, the next point I want to touch on, and a lot of people don't know now, Canada is actually rejecting a lot of immigrants and a lot of immigrant applications. So people that have already applied, been approved to come for work, for school, for whatever reason, are now being denied, and the amount of applications now aren't even being looked at. So this is good and bad. The reality is Canada needs immigrants. Why? We're not producing children like we used to, and the boomer is an older generation, and eventually, sadly, they're going to pass away and move on. That's just how life works. But we need more people to replenish those dying boomers and silent generationers because we have to pay for them, right? They've already done their time. They've worked. Now they're retired. They're living on pensions, on Social Security. The government is paying them money. Who do you think's paying the money? Where's that money coming from? It's coming from us. Gen X, millennials, me, and Gen Z. We're the ones paying for the boomers to have the retirement because they've earned it. They've worked their entire life. Now it's time for them to enjoy it. But we're not having kids like we used to. Millennials are barely having kids. And if we do, we're only having 1 to 2 max, whereas our boomer parents had many kids. So we have an aging population that's starting to die off and we're making less children. This is why Canada is bringing in so many immigrants. It's not some crazy scheme, although it could be. One of the conspiracy theories of why Trudeau is bringing in so many immigrants is that he gets more liberal voters. If he accepts people, they're going to go, oh, yay, Trudeau. He let me into Canada. I love Trudeau. I'm going to vote for him again and again and again because he granted me this great Canadian life. That's actually backfiring. We know a lot of immigrants are turning conservative. This is being documented over and over again. A lot of immigrants are turning conservative because they were lied to. So this conspiracy idea of Trudeau bringing all these immigrants over to vote for him, maybe that was the intention, but it's not working out anymore. Anyway, going back to the kids. So that's why we're bringing so many people into this country is to replenish the amount of people that are dying off, and we're not producing more children because life's getting harder. Millennials are getting smarter, if you will. Financially, they understand how expensive a child is while you're trying to buy a home, live a life, pay for food, buy your car insurance. It's too expensive to have a kid in this new world. As I always say, back in the day, our boomer parents, when they were working in their prime years in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, dad could work as an auto mechanic at Canadian Tire. Mom could stay home with the kids, and dad's income could pay for the entire thing. They owned a home, nice 3-bed, 2-bath car, garage house, with a pool. They also owned a cottage upstate or up province. That was a real thing. Dad's income did all of that. They owned a home and everything. Now, are you kidding me? Mom and dad both have to work, and they can barely own a home if they're lucky. There's no way they can pay for like a nice car, for food. They're going into so much debt. So that's why millennials and Gen Zs are going, children? Yeah, I don't think so. And why, if we are having children, I can attest to this myself, we're having children into our early 30s. A lot of my friends are having kids at 35, 36, 37, because only now they're financially somewhat stable to bring a child into the world. Whereas our boomer parents were popping kids out at 22, 23, 24 years old. Dude, I can't even fucking imagine having a child at 23 years old in this new world as a millennial. But anyway, that's what's going on. That's the true reason why we're bringing in so many immigrants, is to keep the economy going. But the damage has been done. We've brought in so many friggin' people, and some of the arguments that they were unqualified. A lot were qualified to do the jobs that they came here to do. That is a fact. Don't mistake it. We're not bringing people here who have nothing to do with nothing. They have no skills. They're just all refugees. Total lie. A lot of the people coming here have money, number one, and they have skills and they're working great jobs. But a lot aren't as well. Now, we have other countries like Sweden that are saying, yo, you can't come into this country unless you prove that you have skills. You have to go through an entire application process. Like, we're only bringing in the cream of the crop here. Now, the argument is Canada didn't do that. We did that to a certain extent, but the reality is we also brought in a lot of people who were just like, yeah, just come in. Like, let's be real. Mainly international students. So students almost got a free pass. The people coming here as adults to work, they have to go through the whole crazy process of applying, showing your skills, all the credit system of getting your credits for what trade or skill you have. They had to do all of that. But the international students, they got a free pass, dude. If you were coming here for school and you were 18 years old, 19 years old, from India, from China, from any country around the world, and you could pay and you could prove that you had $10,000 in your bank account, that was the only requirement. Can you pay for your tuition, and do you have 10,000 bucks more on top of that to pay for your life? If that's it, you got a visa. You got in. Now, obviously, they came into school, realized, I don't want to do social communications at Conestoga College or whatever. And then they just started working in the workforce and then got their full-time visa. Did nothing with what they came here for school, and they're just working maybe an okay job, maybe a good job. But the reality is, we just let so many people in when other countries had much more stringent requirements. Now, hindsight is always 20/20. But a lot of us knew this was going to happen. Now, the scandal. In May of 2023, 150 Indian students were forced to leave by border security. It turns out their immigration papers were made false. Now, this isn't really anything new in Canada. Corruption is wild across Canada. I mean, just look at the real estate market in Vancouver specifically and Toronto. A lot of money laundering is happening. Rich people from all over the world, from China, Saudi Arabia, are buying real estate to wash their money, and Canada is just looking the other way, letting it happen. We all know what's happening. Now, for these 150 students that were caught basically trying to lie to get into the country, how many got through that we missed? Again, this is just the reality of any country with kind of open borders. You can't catch them all, but maybe you can. That was a Pokemon reference. Of course you can catch them all, but maybe not immigrants. Sorry. Now, the reality of this incident happening is that it proves that the university scandal is a scandal. I mean, the universities and the colleges are just trying to increase their profit, just like any other business, but they're doing whatever they can to bring more students over here. For example, Conestoga College in my local city of Kitchener just had a record profit year. Now, why is that? If you dig into it, the reality is because they let in so many international students. Now, why do universities and colleges want international students so bad more than Canadian students? The reality is, if you're international, your tuition is double. See in Canada, if you go to Conestoga College, for example, a semester can cost like $10,000. A school year can cost like $10,000 for Conestoga College. Now, if you're an international student, it's about $22,000 $2,000 on average. So who do you think Conestoga and these universities want more? You, the Canadian, or the international student who pays double tuition? So they're going to do whatever they got to do to get you in. They're going to give you the papers they got to give you. They're going to help you get in. Sign whatever you want. Just get these people in here, man. That's all they want. And dude, come on. Conestoga College, the dinky dink college, made record profits last year. Who's going to Conestoga, dude? They're just making so many shit ass programs. They're just inventing programs by the day that like makes no sense. You're not going to build a good career or get a good job from these fucking bullshit diplomas, but they're just creating shit out of thin air, dude. But to top it all off, what we're seeing now is a massive increase in reverse immigration. Now, what does that mean? It's people that have come here, been promised a great life in Canada, and are leaving after 6 months, after a year, after 2 years. This is growing in insane popularity. You have no idea unless you're looking at the data and following the articles. A lot of people are leaving. Even Ukraine refugees that we let in to escape the war-torn Ukraine are going back to Ukraine. They'd rather go back because they can't afford life here. Food is too expensive. Housing is impossible. You can't get a rental. If you do, you're paying like $3,000 a month rent for just a little house for a small townhome. Like, it's getting crazy. So we're seeing immigrants and refugees leaving, going back to their war-torn countries or wherever they came from. And let's be real, life is probably not as good from where they came from, but they have to go back. But the reality is they just can't make life work in Canada. I mean, they might not have the skills exactly to get a good job on day one. Maybe they do have skills, but it takes time to work your way up the property ladder, to work your way up the corporate ladder in Canada to get, you know, what you're actually worth, the skills that you're bringing from your other country. But you need money today. Rent is expensive today. Food is expensive today. And unfortunately, these immigrants have to leave. So again, Trudeau's losing his liberal voters. They're leaving. So what do you do? What's the solution? As I always say, this channel is about solutions. We don't only talk about, you know, doom and gloom news. We give solutions. This channel is about financial wealth, growing your businesses. And the reality is, if you want to escape the high cost of everything, you just got to make more money. It's pretty easy, right? Just make more money, right? Well, it's not so easy for most people, but what you can do and what you need to do is start increasing your wealth, okay? So what does that mean? It means investing. It takes time. Now, investing in the stock market, the S&P 500, investing some in crypto, over time, it's gonna grow your wealth. And when it comes time to retire, you're gonna have a lot more than those who are just stashing money away in a RRSP, an RESP, your TFSA. Dude, no, stop investing in an RRSP. Stop it. For most people, it doesn't make any sense to invest in an RRSP. Stop it. What you need to do is build a business, okay? Business is where it's at. And what's the best business? I truly think it is real estate. Dude, we all know real estate is absolutely crazy. We've seen it in Canada. If you invest in real estate and hold it for 5 years, you're going to make some money. There's a high likelihood you're going to make some money. If you hold that property for 10 years, okay, you're definitely making a ton of money. But the reality is, as a business, it's hard to buy real estate in Canada and make a cash flow. The most important thing of business is that it must carry itself. It must profit on the way up to when you want to sell it, but it's impossible. Now, I've purchased 150 properties all here in Ontario, Canada, and 50 of the 150 were single-family rental properties that I've had anywhere between 5 and 10 years from when I sold them all. And yeah, I sold them all from the year 2020 to February 2022. It's almost like I knew something was coming. I sold all my properties at the peak of the market. That's what happens when you're a professional and you got your finger on the pulse and you know what's going on. With that being said, real estate isn't over. Dude, it's going to happen again. What just happened a couple years ago is going to happen again. Question is, are you going to be ready for it this time? This is what my channel is all about. It's teaching you how to invest in real estate, how to buy properties. I show you so many of my before and afters, unlike all these other financial YouTubers who talk about investing in real estate, but show you no proof. They just make videos on real estate, which is all fine and dandy. Maybe it's entertaining, but these guys don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Some of the biggest financial YouTubers, you know who they are. Maybe I'll put them on the screen here and show you some of them. You know who they are. These guys, I know these guys. They don't actually invest in real estate, and you'd be surprised on how much real estate some of them have actually bought for the size of their YouTube channel. Anyway, just be careful who you're following. Follow the real G's. And if you want to learn how to invest in real estate, hit that subscribe button. It is totally free. It is time to grow your wealth and not let Trudeau and all the situations economically run your life. It doesn't have to be you. You don't have to have a recession. Let the other people have it. I'll see you in the next rant.